Today, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, sat for a closed-door interview with Congress to answer questions about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And according to the Democrats in that room, well, didn't go great.
Well, now we know why that interview was not videotaped. If Donald Trump had seen the video transcript, he would have fired Howard Lutnick. It was really embarrassing.
For months now, Lutnick has struggled to answer basic questions about whether or not he misled the public about his relationship with Epstein. It all stems, of course, from an interview Lutnick gave last year in which he claimed to have met Epstein in 2005 and made this snap judgment.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Oh, so I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Never again, says Lutnick. But as we now know, that comment he delivered so confidently was completely false. Thanks to the Epstein files, we know that in 2012, years after Epstein's first arrest and conviction, Lutnick traveled with his family and his multiple nannies for a visit to Epstein's private island. And a year later, in 2013, Epstein's accountant emailed him the resume for someone he called Lutnick Nanny, saying he was trying to arrange a meeting between her and Epstein, who has no children, by the way. Also in 2013, Jeffrey Epstein and Howard Lutnick became partners, investing together in a business venture. In 2015, Lutnick invited Epstein to a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton. In 2017, Epstein donated $50,000 to a dinner honoring Lutnick. And as late as 2018, Lutnick and Epstein were still emailing each other about various topics, including, among other things, that business venture they had both invested in. The Epstein files even includes the stock purchase agreement for that venture, which was signed by both Epstein and Lutnick. And curiously, the Justice Department redacted Howard Lutnick's address in that document while leaving everyone else's address visible, including Epstein's. That appears to be a violation of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It's also incredibly silly because, well, where Lutnick lived isn't really a secret.
Jeffrey Epstein was your neighbour, East 71st Street. He was your neighbour for 10 years.
We are in number 11, and he lives in number 9.
I mean, now I will note that Howard Lutnick denies any wrongdoing associated with Epstein, as inclusion in the files does not indicate guilt. But Lutnick has definitely been accused of lying about the extent of his relationship with Epstein. And today, he admitted that he had, in fact, been with Jeffrey Epstein on many occasions. Yet he apparently still insists that he does not, that doesn't make him a liar.
He made a farce of the English language. I mean, he was trying to define I as if saying that what he really meant is that he would not see Epstein alone, but be totally fine with having his wife and kids see Epstein. It made no sense.
So he was comfortable with his wife and kids being alone with a known predator, but nope, he would never be alone with them? I don't know. Lutnick also reportedly told the committee that Jeffrey Epstein didn't engage in any blackmailing, another claim that directly contradicts his past statements.
This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
There's a tape for everything. Clearly, Howard Lutnick was willing to say all kinds of things about Jeffrey Epstein while appearing on the podcast of a conservative tabloid. But once he was actually in front of Congress, once he knew he would actually be accountable for the things he said, his answers suddenly got a whole lot murkier. In many ways, Howard Lutnick is the perfect symbol of Trump's Epstein problem. One day he's playing in the base, talking about how disgusting Epstein is, and the next day he's dodging questions about his own ties to Epstein and hoping it all just goes away. Keep on hoping, guys, because it definitely isn't going away.